Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. What if I told you that everything you're waiting for, the clarity, the confidence, the breakthrough, isn't coming to save you? What if I told you that you're not stuck, you're just repeating the same mental loops every single day and calling it your life? This isn't about potential. You already have that. This is about rewiring your mind, because the life you want, it requires a new operating system. For the next few minutes, I'm going to challenge you, not with theory, not with fluff, with 5 simple but powerful truths that will flip the way you see yourself, your habits, your fears, your environment, and your ability to change any of it. Because real transformation doesn't take years. It takes moments, micro decisions, small shifts, and it starts the second you decide to stop waiting and start moving. So if you're tired of your own excuses, if you're done with the waiting game, if you're ready to wake up and finally take back control of your life, then let's begin. You are one decision away from a totally different life. That may sound dramatic, but it's not hype, it's truth. One moment of courage, one choice to stop hitting snooze, one yes, when you usually say maybe later, one time saying no, when you've always gone along with it. That's all it takes to change the entire direction of your life. We think transformation happens in these sweeping, cinematic ways. But the reality is, real change starts small, micro, a tiny shift in behavior, a little flicker of bravery, the kind of thing that would barely register to anyone else. But for you, it cracks open a door that's never been opened before. This isn't about motivation. Motivation is unreliable. This is about decision, because you don't need to feel ready. You don't need the perfect plan. You need to decide, and decision is an act, a move, a moment of you stepping in before your brain has time to talk you out of it, because it will. Your brain will fire up excuses before you even get your feet on the ground. It's too early. It won't work. I'll do it tomorrow. That voice, it's the protector of the familiar, not the voice of your potential. So here's the truth bomb. You're not stuck, you're paused, and you have the power to unpause. Right now, not after you get everything lined up, not after the weekend, not next month. Now, here's how it happens. You wake up tomorrow, and instead of reaching for your phone, instead of scrolling through other people's lives before you've even stepped into your own, you make one decision. Plant your feet on the floor. Just that. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. That's it. That's your moment. It's not about the act of getting up. It's about proving to yourself that you can move before the doubt kicks in, that you can take control back from the automatic, that you don't need to feel like doing something to do it anyway. That's the first spark, and here's what's wild. The more you do that, the more evidence you stack that you are in charge. Not your excuses, not your fears, not your past, you. The domino effect is real. One decision leads to another. You choose to get up, and suddenly the choice to drink water instead of grabbing a sugary coffee feels easier. You made a move earlier. Why not now? You take that walk at lunch instead of doom scrolling. You sign up for that class you've been looking at for 3 months. You send that email that makes your hands sweat. And before you know it, you've shifted. The life that felt heavy, dull, stuck, it starts to move. You're in motion, and motion, unlike motivation, creates momentum. You can build on it, use it, ride it. The craziest part is that nobody's coming to make the decision for you. No mentor, no boss, no partner, no parent. It's you, always has been. That's not a burden. That's your superpower. You don't have to wait. You don't have to ask. You don't need permission. The door isn't locked, you just haven't turned the handle. And it all starts with one single decision. One that seems so small, it feels ridiculous. And yet, that moment of movement, that choice to override the autopilot, creates a crack in the system. It breaks the cycle. Your life isn't changed in one day. It's changed in one decision repeated over and over until you become someone you don't even recognize. And here's the thing. You already know what that decision is. It's the thing you've been avoiding. The thing you keep putting off because it's uncomfortable, uncertain, maybe even a little scary. But you also know what it would feel like on the other side of doing it. The relief, the energy, the finally. That moment is waiting, And it won't show up with a spotlight and a drum roll. It'll show up disguised as a regular Tuesday, as an ordinary hour, as a choice you've made 100 times before, except this time, you make it differently. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. That's why it talks you out of every bold idea, every risk, every plan that doesn't come with a guarantee. You've probably felt it the second you get excited about doing something new, something challenging. Your mind jumps in with all the reasons it won't work. That's not because you're broken. It's because you're human. That voice of hesitation isn't laziness. It's your brain doing exactly what it's built to do. Keep you safe. But safety and growth rarely live in the same room. The part of your brain that craves routine, predictability, and comfort doesn't care about your goals. It cares about keeping you alive. It's running ancient software written in a time when staying in the cave meant survival, and venturing out could mean danger. But you don't live in that world anymore. The threats are different now. You're not fighting off predators. You're fighting off procrastination, self-doubt, the fear of judgment, the fear of failing, and the pressure to be perfect. Your brain is constantly scanning for what could go wrong, because that's how it's wired. It's always looking to minimize risk, conserve energy, and avoid uncertainty. But here's the issue. Everything you want is on the other side of those three things: risk, energy, uncertainty. So if you're waiting to feel ready, waiting until the fear goes away, you'll be waiting forever. Success doesn't feel safe. It feels shaky. It feels like, oh my God, am I really doing this? It feels like walking into a room where you're not sure you belong, and your brain will scream for you to turn back. But that discomfort, that's the signal, that's the sign you're heading somewhere new, somewhere your old programming has never taken you. Your mind is just doing what it was designed to do: protect you from the unknown. But if you don't challenge it, it'll keep you stuck in what you know. And what you know is not necessarily what you want. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're running on a system that prioritizes immediate comfort over long-term achievement. And it's sneaky. It'll tell you things like you'll start tomorrow, or you're just tired, or this isn't the right time. And those thoughts sound reasonable because they come in your own voice. But that voice isn't always your truth. It's your default, and the default setting is survival mode. It's not designed to make you successful. It's designed to keep you from changing, because change feels like danger. Change burns calories. Change means stepping into the unknown, so your brain will resist, hard, and the resistance isn't a signal to stop. It's proof that you're stepping out of the zone your brain considers safe. But this is where the power comes in. You can rewire that system. You can't shut off the fear, but you can move with it. You can override the hesitation with action. You can prove to your brain again and again that discomfort doesn't equal danger, that failing doesn't equal dying, that rejection won't destroy you. Every time you do something new, your brain is forced to adapt. It learns, it updates, it rewires, not all at once, but through repetition. And every time you face the fear and do it anyway, you shrink its power. You're building a new response. You're teaching your brain that success is safe, that growth is survivable, that the unknown might be uncomfortable, but it's not deadly. This is why you feel resistance every time you're about to level up. Every time you say yes to something that matters. Every time you take a step in the direction of your potential. Because the brain doesn't differentiate between fear that's useful and fear that's outdated. It just hits the brakes, and it's your job to decide whether you're going to listen. Whether you're going to let an ancient warning system stop you from building a modern life. It's not about being fearless. It's about not letting fear make your decisions. The fear will show up, let it. It just doesn't get to vote. It doesn't get to take the wheel. It doesn't get to run the show. The more you act in the presence of fear, the more you prove to yourself that you're capable of doing hard things, that you're not controlled by your conditioning, that you're not limited to your programming. You're not here to just survive. You're here to build, to explore, to create. And that won't happen if you keep waiting for your brain to feel good about the risk. It won't. It's doing its job. Now it's your turn to do yours. Action is the antidote to anxiety. Not thinking, not overanalyzing, not planning it out to perfection, just movement, just doing something, anything, to interrupt the loop that's playing in your mind. Because anxiety feeds on stillness, it thrives in silence. It grows stronger when you sit and let the same thoughts spin around your head like a broken record. You've felt it, that sensation of being paralyzed by your own thoughts, wanting to move but overthinking every step, worrying about the worst case scenario, playing out 100 ways it could go wrong. And while your mind is spinning in circles, your body is still. Your life is on pause. But anxiety doesn't go away by thinking your way out of it. It goes away by breaking the cycle. And the only thing powerful enough to break that loop is action, not a huge leap. Not some grand transformation. A small move, a tiny act, a single thing that puts you back in the driver's seat. It might be brushing your teeth when you don't feel like getting out of bed. It might be putting on your shoes and stepping outside even if you don't go far. It might be sending that email you've been avoiding, calling the person you've been meaning to reach out to. Anxiety wants you to believe that you need to feel okay before you can act. But the truth is, you need to act before you feel okay. That one shift changes everything, because the moment you move, you disrupt the fear. You prove to yourself that you are not helpless, that you are not stuck, that you are capable of showing up even when your mind is shouting reasons not to. Anxiety is a liar, and its biggest lie is that you're powerless. It tells you that if you wait long enough, the feeling will pass, that clarity will come, that confidence will arrive, but it never does. Clarity comes from engagement, not rumination. Confidence comes from stacking small wins, not from rehearsing outcomes in your head. So if you're anxious, the worst thing you can do is wait, because waiting gives anxiety room to breathe. It gives it oxygen. It keeps you in the mental fog, and the longer you sit with it, the heavier it feels. But the second you take action, even messy, imperfect action, you send a different signal to your brain. You say, I'm not a hostage to this feeling. You say, I'm in motion now. And that motion changes everything. It brings your focus to what you're doing instead of what you're fearing. It turns your energy outward instead of inward. It shifts you from emotional paralysis into productive momentum. People think courage is the absence of fear, but it's not. It's the willingness to move with fear sitting right beside you. It's choosing to take a step before you know where it leads. It's reaching for the phone, getting in the car, walking into the room, saying the thing, applying anyway, standing up, showing up. Not because the anxiety is gone, but because it's there and you refuse to let it win. That's what builds real confidence, not waiting until you feel fearless, but acting despite the fear. Because every time you do, you shrink its power. You stretch your comfort zone. You create evidence that you're stronger than your emotions. And that evidence adds up. It becomes your new normal. The more you act, the more you trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, anxiety has less to hold onto. There is no magic formula. There's no perfect day when everything lines up and you suddenly feel calm and capable. There's just the moment you're in and the choice to do something with it, to take the call, to write the first sentence, to walk through the door, to get out of your head and into your life. That's the shift. And no one's going to make it for you. You are the one who has to choose to interrupt the loop, to break the pattern, to stop waiting for certainty and create movement instead. You are not your thoughts. You are not your anxiety. You are the person who can decide what happens next. That power is always available, even when the fear feels loud, even when your chest feels tight, even when you don't know what's next. Especially then, because that's when the move matters most. Not when it's easy, not when it's obvious, when it's uncomfortable, when it's uncertain, when it's messy, and you do it anyway. Confidence comes from evidence, not affirmations. You can repeat positive phrases to yourself in the mirror every day, but if your actions don't back them up, your brain won't believe a word of it, because your mind isn't listening to what you say, it's watching what you do. It's keeping track, Every time you show up, even when it's hard, even when you're scared, even when you'd rather run and hide, your brain makes a mental note that was brave, that counted, that mattered. And the more of those notes you stack up, the more proof you have that you can handle things. That's how confidence is really built, not through hype, but through history. A record of evidence that says, I've done this before. I can do it again. We've been taught to think that confidence is a personality trait, that some people are just born with it, that if you weren't the loudest, boldest kid in the room, you missed your shot. But that's not true. Confidence is a skill. It's something you earn. And like any skill, it's built through repetition. Through putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and realizing you survived. Through trying, failing, learning, and then trying again. Confidence isn't about always getting it right. It's about knowing that you can recover when things go wrong, that you're resourceful enough to figure it out, that you don't need everything to be perfect in order to make progress. And that knowing comes from evidence, from action, from doing it scared and showing yourself what you're made of every time you take a risk. Speak up, ask the question, step into something unfamiliar. You add a brick to your foundation. It might feel shaky at first. It might feel like you're faking it, but you're not faking anything you're building. You're doing the thing that most people avoid. You're choosing courage over comfort, and that choice creates momentum. It doesn't mean you'll never doubt yourself. It means you'll have something stronger than doubt to lean on when it shows up. You'll have proof, real, undeniable proof that you are capable, that you've been in the deep end before and figured out how to swim. The problem is, most people want to feel confident before they act. They want the certainty, the assurance, the internal green light that says you've got this. But confidence doesn't work like that. It doesn't show up first. It shows up after the risk, after the attempt, after you put yourself on the line and do the thing. And yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But every time you push through that, every time you take action in the face of fear, you're building the muscle. You're rewriting the story. You're proving to yourself that you don't need to feel ready to move. There's a big difference between hype and belief. Hype is what you say when you're trying to convince yourself. Belief is what you know because you've seen it with your own eyes, because you've done the work, because you've been through things that were hard and came out stronger. Belief doesn't come from talking yourself up. It comes from showing yourself what's possible. And that kind of belief is unshakable. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't crack under pressure, that doesn't need applause, that doesn't need everyone in the room to agree, because it's built from something deeper than words. It's built from experience, and yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes discomfort. But every single person who seems confident, who walks with conviction, who speaks with clarity, they've all had moments of doubt. They've all had to start somewhere. They didn't get there by waiting to feel sure. They got there by choosing to act even when they weren't. And eventually, the actions turned into evidence, and the evidence turned into belief. You can do the same. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start stacking wins. Tiny ones, quiet ones, the ones no one sees, but you feel deep down, because those are the ones that count the most. The ones that remind you who you are, that remind you you've got this. Even when your mind says you don't, your environment is controlling you more than you think. It's not just the people you spend time with or the places you go, it's the entire ecosystem you've built around yourself. And most of the time, it's running the show without you even realizing it. Your habits, your mindset, your choices, even your energy, all of it is being influenced by what surrounds you. And if you're feeling stuck, uninspired, distracted, or unmotivated, it's not always because of a flaw within you. It's often because your environment is reinforcing the very patterns you're trying to break. The truth is, you rise or fall to the level of your surroundings. You don't just behave based on willpower or discipline. You behave based on the cues and triggers you're exposed to all day long. If your phone is the first thing you see when you wake up, guess what you're going to do? If your workspace is cluttered and chaotic, guess how you're going to feel every time you sit down to create? If your social circle is full of people who complain, who settle, who make excuses, that mindset will bleed into your own. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. We're wired to adapt to what's around us. We mirror energy, we normalize whatever we're immersed in. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your environment. You have to make it easier to win. You have to set yourself up to succeed without needing to fight yourself every step of the way. This doesn't mean moving across the country or cutting everyone off. It means becoming intentional. It means paying attention to the spaces you occupy, the people you listen to, the content you consume, and the systems you've put in place or haven't. Your environment should reflect the person you're trying to become, not the one you're trying to grow out of. That means making your goals visible. That means clearing the distractions. That means curating your inputs, who you follow, what you watch, what you allow to speak into your mind. Because if you're constantly feeding yourself noise, chaos, and negativity, how can you expect to feel focused, clear, or confident? Small changes in your environment can create massive shifts in your behavior. Leave your journal on the nightstand, and you're more likely to reflect. Put your gym clothes where you can see them, and you're more likely to move. Have a conversation with someone who inspires you, and you'll feel your standards rise. This is about designing your life with intention. Because if you don't, your environment will design it for you. And it doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your vision. It just reflects what you tolerate. You can't create a high-performance life in a low-vibration environment. You can't become disciplined while surrounded by distractions. You can't feel empowered while being surrounded by energy that drains you, and this doesn't stop with the physical space. It's emotional too, mental, energetic. Who do you let speak into your dreams? Who do you text when you feel like quitting? Who do you spend your weekends with, and what are those conversations about? Do they light you up or shrink you down? Do they challenge you to grow or comfort you into staying the same? These questions matter more than most people realize, because you are being shaped constantly by what you surround yourself with. Whether you like it or not, whether you notice it or not, the people and energy you expose yourself to daily are either pulling you forward or pulling you back. There is no neutral. The good news is, you don't need to flip your entire life upside down overnight. You just need to start shifting the pieces. One drawer, one playlist, one boundary, one habit, one conversation at a time. Stack your environment in your favor. Make success your default. Make growth easier than regression. You'll be shocked at how quickly your mindset begins to shift when your surroundings begin to align. Suddenly, you're not forcing motivation, you're feeding it. You're not relying on willpower, you're reinforcing habits. And the momentum becomes real. Because when your environment supports your future, your present starts to change. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're moving smarter. You're finally creating a space where your potential isn't suffocated, it's invited to breathe, to expand, to show up fully and unapologetically.